All right, Brian, we're back here in the 70s. Let's go check out the Crazy Canoe.
I heard they got rid of half price apps and Hawaiian shirt night.
Fuck that place. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching TV and movies. This is our review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, Episode 5, titled A Trout in the Milk. Somehow these titles keep getting better each episode.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't even think Sousa knows what it means, and he said it 3 times. Because anytime someone was like, explain that, he's like, never mind, which is kind of the story of my life.
Yeah.
I'm your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. The voice you just heard is my co-host, as always, the mad scientist, Brian Banner, to review this episode as we do all of our TV episodes on the 4 Bro 4 Squad criteria as we talk about the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and then theories and questions going forward. So, Brian, we moved to 1972 and then 1976. And as is always, one of my favorite things, we got a lot of the time period in this episode, but how did you think the acting and cast played out?
I'm actually really upset.
Because Mac was awesome.
Yes.
And dude, how buff did he look in that turtleneck?
Dude, for the first time, I have to admit, Henry Simmons is killing the game. Doesn't matter what time period he's in, doesn't matter what role he's in. He is the whole fucking package. And I hate to admit it because I've been anti that. And just because he's a good actor does not mean the shotgun axe is good, because it still sucks.
Well, real quick, the shotgun axe. So you know that meme that is very popular now, one of my favorites, of Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's drinking the beer and pointing at the TV like, oh! When they did that 70s style intro, which I thought was awesome.
So fucking cool.
And they showed Mac with the shotgun axe. I was Leonardo DiCaprio from that meme pointing at the TV like, Banner, look.
Yeah, I knew it was going to come up. I just didn't know if we were going to be like a minute into the show or a minute and a half into the show. I took the over and I think I just lost.
How much fun have the showrunners had with the time period and the intros this season?
That's what's really, for me, keeping a show that we know is on its last leg. It's at the end of the run. It's keeping it fresh and new. I mean, we talked a little bit about what they're doing with Coulson, but really playing into and sliding into or steering into the skid of these time periods and just playing into all the stereotypes of, you know, the 30s and then 50s TV and 70s TV now is just awesome. Super cool A-Team feel at the beginning, which I loved.
And the way Deke does that, like, turn to the camera and smirk, every fucking 70s or 80s show had that. It's so like MacGyver or Hawaii Five-0, or even like Baywatch.
Speaking of Deke, I liked him. I liked him.
He was good this episode too, man. He had that really impassioned scene with Gemma, which we might get into in best scene.
They finally figured out who he is, and they're just playing to his strengths. All 3 of them.
Yeah, we've always said, man, the only issue I really had with the character of Deke was that he was a different, like every single time we saw him, I felt like he was something different. In the first season where they're in outer space, he's like this rebellious leader. In the second season we had with him, he's like this tech entrepreneur, and this season they kind of had him as like a bumbling idiot. And I'm just like, okay, what is he?
Yeah, the last 2, maybe 3 episodes, 2.5, 3 episodes, they're really he's finding himself. He's okay. I am an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's finally admitted that, and he's jumped full force in. He knows the technology. He's trying to figure out how to be a spy, and that's been kind of fun to watch. But he's had several really impactful scenes and really important scenes, I felt, that the people around him are definitely helping his cause here, but he hasn't fucked it up. And I think that's a huge testament to him and growing as an actor and growing that character. And again, like I said to start this segment off, I'm really upset because two people I've been very vocal about not liking, I just admitted I liked both of them.
Yeah, I'm on the Jeffrey Ward train for sure. Who else for you?
That's it. That's all I had. Everybody else was, normal.
Couple quick ones. Neil Bledsoe back as Old Man Malik. I love him. I love his character. His makeup in this was awful.
Awful.
Like
awful.
Horrendous.
It was it literally was a spray-on tan with glued-on hair.
Glued-on sideburns and stuff. I was like, it looked like in an SNL skit when like they have to run you back and forth between like your makeup and they put on like a bad bald cap and like your hair starts coming out of it.
It's like they didn't try.
Yeah, it just looked really tacky. I was like, come on, dude. But he was good, Neil Bledsoe. And then Patrick Warburton back as Agent Stoner. He's always great. Kind of takes me out of it because Patrick Warburton is like Joe from Family Guy, but it was cool to see him in the 70s. Because the only time we had else that was butchered, but the only other time we saw him was as a hologram, right? In the lighthouse.
Yeah. Which, again, was... I like that they're bringing these things back. This is going to be a nice little transition right into story, unless you got anything else on cast.
I was just going to say is Joel Stoffer as Enoch is incredible, but I can't say enough superlatives about him.
Going right into the story, I like how they're starting to pick back and cherry pick all these things from the past, on the show especially. They're kind of picking them back and forth that I really like. They're revisiting these things and giving us a little bit more context to them. Him coming back was one of them. Thought was really cool. That, and then obviously the big elephant in the room, Project Insight, which is, as I said, 40 years earlier, but that was a huge impact at the beginning of the show. I think it was the second season, maybe end of the first season when that event happened in Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. Really cool that they have kind of brought that in full circle, and we're really seeing the impact of those ripples, not waves, coming into play from the first episode.
Yeah, and real quick, I'll read the synopsis from the TV Time app, because as people are listening to this, they might not quite remember the story, because I know I wouldn't. After a bumpy landing in the disco decade, the team, Daniel Sousa in tow, reunites with more than one familiar face at the S.H.I.E.L.D. hangout and discovers exactly how to dismantle the Chromacom's latest plan. But when they get too close for comfort, the Zephyr unexpectedly leaps forward again, this time to a date pivotal not only to the future of S.H.I.E.L.D., but to the future of director Mac as well. And I actually forgot about that kind of at the end, the decision that Mac makes based on his parents. And part of that we can maybe get into in theories and questions, but I wonder if his decision to abort was based on, I guess it was twofold. Number one, will he even exist if he doesn't? Probably not, right? Yep. And then two, is he assuming that they still have some runway left where they can stop Hydra in the coming years before present day?
Yeah, I think, well, whether he'll exist or not is whether you believe in the multiverse or not, right? Yeah. Because if you don't believe in it, then there's no way he's going to exist. If you do believe in it, then there's a chance, but also like that's literally saying I am going to let my parents die. And that's really fucked up. So, I mean, I don't know a single human being that I associate with that would not have made the same decision that Mac made.
Right. So another thing that I was thinking as we were watching this story, because Project Insight is so accelerated, I'm wondering now if like the whole, basically the big turn in Winter Soldier where Hydra reveals itself, do you think that will all happen much sooner than it currently did in the MCU timeline? Just because they're so far ahead of schedule.
I don't know. I think that's something that we need to put a pin in till theories, because we're going to go down a rabbit hole and we're not quite to that point in the show. Yeah. But Project Insight being 40 years ahead and obviously the Chromacon's helping that along. Kind of a cool aspect. I like it. We got our first mid-episode jump, which I really liked. And then obviously the implications of that were cool. I like the fact that, and everything that I hate about this show, I'm liking this season in this episode. The fact that Yo-Yo tried to get off the Zephyr to stay in 72 or 73, whatever it was, and not jump with them. That was pretty powerful in my opinion. I thought that was a cool thing. And again, it was another come to Jesus of herself going, hey, I don't have these powers. I can't perform this stuff like I used to, but I'm trying.
I will say this one thing that I think is great in the final season, and this story really pushed all these character narratives further, is typically with each season we've had like maybe 2 or 3 main members of Shield that have had sort of like their arc has run in tandem with the team story arc, like they've had their big development. But now, especially with this new wrinkle with Mac, we have Gemma, and we'll get into Fitz at the end. But obviously, she's dealing with some shit with the chromocoms and everything in her neck. Whatever's going on with May, Yo-Yo losing her powers, Deke worried about his grandpa and his existence coming up, Sousa dealing with being the man at a time, Coulson's playing on with borrowed time, and who am I fucking missing on?
The only one is Daisy. And,
oh yeah, she's the only one that really has not
and like she's just kind of there for the ride.
Which is weird too, because she's been basically like the main character the past 2 or 3 seasons.
Right.
Although now with the reference to Whitehall at the end, they're going to possibly experiment on her. So now every character has really been thrown right in the middle of this. None of them are really ancillary to the plot at this point.
No. And they've done a really good job of it. It doesn't feel cluttered. You know, when you literally just named off 7 characters, and the story doesn't feel cluttered, even though they all have a very intimate part of the overall plot.
I mean, and for the first time this season, I think I have legitimate questions that I'm interested in about all of them, because they threw in Gemma and Daisy got something, added to the plot this episode, and now I'm like, dude, where the fuck is this going? I'm like, so along for the ride.
Yeah.
All right, anything before best scene?
No, I think that's all I got. I mean, like I said, it took me about 36 hours after I watched the show to decide whether I like the episode or not. And I think I've fallen on, I do like the episode. It was just different. It was different from the other ones, and it took me a little bit to come around to it, but I did really enjoy it.
Yeah, so for best scene, I think one thing we do need to say about this episode, this furthered the plot of the season more than anyone so far. So as far as like an action set piece or like one isolated moment where I'm like, oh man, that was my favorite part, I didn't really have much, because I just think the whole episode as it was very, very important as far as moving the story.
This felt like the catalyst that's going to jump us to the season finale. You always have that one episode that sets it up for us to go right into that season or series finale. This, in my opinion, is that episode.
Because they've been dealing with preventing significant changes to the timeline for the most part. And for the first time here, I feel like we saw, some pretty significant things have been altered in history. And that's what's going to push us forward. I just had a quote that I wanted to point out that I thought was absolutely incredible. And it's when Enoch speeds up in the car as they run out of the bar, and he goes, "Come with me if you want to continue to exist." Obviously, a play on "Come with me if you want to live."
Yeah,
it's from Terminator.
If we haven't said it once, we've said it a million times. Enoch is the star of the show. He's the best. He's the best.
He's incredible. He's become my favorite character. Not even as a joke. Like, I just fucking love Enoch.
He's just so he's enjoyable. He's got the funny. He's got the serious. He can do it all. He's that 5-star player.
The only real thing I had was I was pretty impressed with the CGI in this episode. When they were in the lighthouse showing the Project Insight satellite looked really good. And then the scene where they actually use the Zephyr to shoot the missiles at the launch satellite and blow it up.
Movie quality.
Yeah, movie quality special effects. And so that stuff looked awesome. I don't really have much as like one favorite scene. It was just a little moment with Enoch, and then I just thought visually this one looked really good.
So I only had, again, same way. I thought every scene was really well done. I thought that the way that the entire episode flowed was really, really well done. The one scene that kind of stuck out to me, which I just thought was, because it was really good acting, it was definitely there was the most tension in this scene, was when Sousa confronts Simmons and Deke kind of stands up for her, and you've got past versus future arguing over the present. And the line that Sousa says was, "I was taken out of my life for this." And Deke says, "Yeah, we all were."
That was great.
And it just felt super powerful, and it almost gave me goosebumps, because it's like, yeah, if you put yourself in these characters' shoes, where are you? You have no fucking idea what you're doing, where you're at, or really why you're still doing this. But they are all pressing along as a team, and you really saw that. To me, is going to be the moment, which obviously we don't know this yet, but I think that's going to be the moment we can look back and go, okay, that's when Sousa became a member of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of Deke. And again, full circle back to acting and cast. He did a great job.
And it is really interesting because they've had sort of the opposite take. Deke has been pulled into the past and Sousa into the future.
Right.
So Deke is like, dude, I get it. Like, I can relate to what you're going through more than anybody, but this is bigger than us.
Now, does Sousa know he's from the future's future?
I don't think he knows that about Deke. I actually don't even think he's talked to Deke like at all until that scene, which I don't blame him. If Deke would be like the weird dude puddling around, I'd be like, I'm just going to stay away from you. Do you have anything else for best scene, or can we go into theories and questions?
Let's go into theories and questions, man.
All right, this isn't so much either, but I just have to say this. And I said this last week, but now I've reached my boiling point. If I don't get Fitz next episode, I'm going to fucking freak out.
We're not going to get him. We're not going to get him until, was this episode 5? I think the earliest we're going to get him is like 10.
And I don't watch the next time on.
I don't either.
So if they did show that, then we need to always kind of preface that. But I'm getting really frustrated now.
Yeah, I about halfway through this episode, I just had to come to Jesus meeting with myself and said, I'm not going to get Fitz till, if at all, till the very, very end of this show. Or
this is the last season, and we're almost to the halfway point, like halfway through episode 7 would be. And you haven't given me my favorite character in the entire show.
And at this point, I don't even think this is the only knock really on the season that I've got. At this point, even if he gets his entire own episode and he's the only one in it, it still won't make up for the fact that he hasn't been in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes, however many it's going to end up being.
And the other thing, too, is like the thing I love about Fitz is his interaction with the other characters. And if it's just him alone on like a spaceship somewhere, like that'll still be entertaining. But I want him. This is the last shot we get with these guys. Like, give me him with the team.
And he hasn't really gotten a swan song. Like a lot of times in shows when they write somebody out or they are kind of blatantly ignoring that the character isn't there like they are here, they kind of mention him every once in a while, but usually they have kind of a swan song or they have kind of an exit where you're like, oh, okay, I can see why they're not in the show anymore. I understand it. I think of that 70s show when they wrote Eric Foreman out of the show. That is a perfect example of, this is the end of his run, even though they keep referencing him later. They didn't do that with Fitz. Like, he's still a huge crux in the show.
Yeah, and even if, I understand they were probably holding him for like a big turn in the plot, but at a certain point, like, you can be like saving your pinch hitter too late in the game. There might not be enough time left to make an impact with it. I just want him sooner than later.
Yeah.
A couple things that I might have missed, so I just want to ask this in questions because you might have the answer. So that scene where Gemma has some implant from the chromocoms in her neck, and Enoch says, "Come with me, let's talk about it." Is that something I'm supposed to know what that is?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know if that was from when they got experimented on, or because if it was, they should have reiterated it to us.
Here's a crazy theory. Is Gemma a Chromicon now?
Very possible.
We don't know what they did to her and Fitz in those experiments, right? So could she be a Chromicon now? Enoch knows. Maybe she doesn't necessarily know, but Enoch knows, and he's trying to help her. And because maybe there's some sort of, when Chromicons are in pairs, they do better together, and when they're isolated, they freak out. And Enoch hasn't been there for, however long, or they haven't been together. Now that they're together, maybe she's going to settle back down. But
did it seem like she was trying to hide that from at least Deke?
I don't know if she was trying to hide it or if she was just
like trying to be tough and walk it off.
Yeah, just trying to be like, she's always kind of been that rock, and she already knows they think she's getting a little unsettled and she's going a little crazy. So maybe she's in her own mind about that. I don't. That's one of the questions that I have here is the fuck's going on with Simmons? Because I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. I didn't understand that. Obviously we saw the little thing in her neck, and then Enoch knows something we don't know.
Right. It looked like when in the DC universe when like Brainiac takes control of you, like those the triangle form with the dots. Yeah. Another thing, kind of piggybacking off that, and then I'll let you get a few of yours in. So May's powers that we assume she got from the Shrike, is that all the explanation you think we will get for that this season? Like the Shrike was in her and now she can like sense emotion. Because I don't remember anything with, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember anything with Izel having like a similar power set for me to think like, okay, what would the Shrike being in you, or no, not even the Shrike, sorry, that other dimension. I was thinking getting her and Yo-Yo confused, which is a totally other situation. But that
I
other
have no
dimension,
idea. They didn't even really they haven't explained how or why, or they haven't even like given us a theory of she has these powers. They literally just said, "Oh, hey May, you have these powers."
and I think the powers are cool, and they play really well in the story so far.
Yeah, and she's already learned how to use it to her advantage, which is cool. But there's no explanation why or how she got it. I'm kind of okay with it though.
Yeah, I kind of am too.
I mean,
I'd
obviously,
more
I want
care-
to know more, but if I don't get it, it's not the end of the world. I'm okay with that.
I more care about the yo-yo explanation, sort of. I don't know if we'll get either, but as long as they end up well with the plot, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
So you touched on it earlier. I absolutely loved the beginning of this. The opening scene where they're introducing all the actors' names and like super cliche 70s A-Team style. Loved it. They are killing the season with playing into the era that the episode is based in. And I felt like we need to comment on it because they've done that. That is one thing that's been super consistent the entire season is whatever timeline they're in or whatever time era they're in, they are in that head and shoulders, both feet in, jumping in the deep end.
Every time they jump now, I get really excited because I'm like, oh, what will the opening credits be now that they're in a new time period? Like the 90s will be awesome if they end up in the 90s. I cannot wait for that.
More of a comment than anything else. It seems to me like the team is starting to revisit all these major events from previously in the series, right? So the birth of Hydra was one. Then we go to the birth of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was the 50s. Now Project Insight. All three of those major points are major points in the previous 6 seasons. So what's the next?
And even referencing Whitehall, like that was the whole Inhumans.
Exactly. That's another major plot point in the show. So I may have been wrong where I said, hey, they're going to eventually connect these back to the movies. I think they are going to connect these to every major event. Maybe we'll get another Grant Ward or like a Hive cameo or reference coming up because that was another huge plot point in the series moving forward. So I don't really, there isn't really a question there, but more of an observation, I guess.
I think Ghost Rider or the Dark Dimension is coming back in some form too.
Yeah.
Just a matter of time.
Yeah, maybe, and then maybe that's something that Whitehall is gonna. They can kind of interweave those with Whitehall and the Inhumans. I don't know. I'm for the first time I don't really have a good theory. I'm just super fucking lost, but I'm having a blast and along for the ride.
So I'll just jump in real quick regarding the Whitehall reference at the very end. Do you think this is sort of a theory and a question? But obviously the irony is Whitehall experimented on Daisy's mom to try and get her powers as an Inhuman and killed her, basically. Right? If I remember correctly.
Whitehall, yeah, he like dissected Daisy's mom.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So do you, even though this is like before that, because he can basically like live forever is what the point of it was. Do you think he will, like, will Daisy basically lose her powers as a result of this?
I mean, I don't know, because everybody that has some sort of special thing in the show thus far is losing them. And so it's definitely in the realm of possibility. I can't say yes or no. I hope not, because I really like Quake as a character, and I really like, honestly, how sparingly she uses her powers. And you can almost see it when she uses them. There's that slight hesitation. You can see it in her eyes, like, should I use my power here? I have to. And it's almost like a last resort kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think after she went, like, fucking insane a few seasons ago with the whole Ward thing, she's like, all right, maybe I should tone down the quaking of people.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I think, I got nothing. I think it's super fun. This is my favorite part of the show, is guessing what's not going to happen.
Right. I have one other question, but before that, I want to let you if you had anything else, let you get it out.
No, I mean, I think that's really all that I've got. Like I said, I don't think Sousa is going to end up with the team by the end. I think he's going to end up dying. I think in order to right this ship that they have very, very slowly drifted off, I think a lot of things are going to happen. Sousa maybe making a sacrifice play is one of them. I mean, I don't know. Something is going to happen to right this ship because I don't know. I got nothing.
I still think somehow they'll connect him to the character the same actor played in the Avengers.
Which would be really cool.
I liked your theory at first that it could just be Sousa.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
He gets his limp fixed or something, and he's just like, I don't know, that'd be cool. All right, so one thing I thought of, Project Insight, it was really cool here that they mentioned Child Bruce Banner on the list. So then I started thinking, I never even crossed my mind, but there's a lot of MCU characters that in the 70s are about to be like kids.
Mm-hmm.
So just some names I think it might be interesting if they brought in. What about a child Scott Lang?
Yeah.
At some point. Obviously Stephen Strange is one. A child T'Challa, or maybe even if they go to Oakland, they could get the kid who played Killmonger.
Yeah, that'd be fucking cool.
Right? And then who could forget, like, if they go to Russia ever, we could see the Red Room and they could have, like, a child Natasha Romanoff.
Yeah, that one I think is going to be hard with the Black Widow movie coming out. I can only assume that they're going to have a child Natasha Romanoff in that movie. But that doesn't mean that they can't have the same actor and they can't do it. I just think that one's a little bit more of a stretch. Not to say it can't happen, but I would love that.
They could, of course, still do Kid Tony Stark and then maybe even like a Clint Barton or something. It would be fun, too.
That would be cool.
It's just so low risk as far as like affecting anything in the MCU. There could be like a kid who's like really good with a slingshot and someone yells Barton and he like runs over. Like that would be fucking awesome. I would love that.
That's the thing. I think that's the thing that that the showrunners or what people don't understand. I think Star Wars finally, J.J. Abrams finally got this by Rise of Skywalker, but we're not asking for these huge, giant, oh shit, epiphany connections. Just want mentioned, you know? Yeah. Like that was one thing that was cool about the Daredevil and the Defenders shows was every once in a while they were like, oh, the event that happened or the green guy. Like they had these little sprinkles of things that had nothing to do with anything, but they just let us know that there's still things.
Right.
And that's all I want.
And I don't think it compromises story ever to do that. In fact, sometimes it can be in service of story. The Bruce Banner thing here, it didn't detract at all. It was just a really cool nod. And it fit into the Project Insight, like to make it real and give it stakes as a viewer. You're like, oh shit, like they're going to take out an 8-year-old Bruce Banner. And
I thought it was cool too, because that was a perfect way of explaining what Project Insight was for somebody that, not that I'm sure there's not a lot of people out there, but don't necessarily understand the movies or haven't seen the movies or haven't seen Winter Soldier and that movie came out 8 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So to explain what Project Insight is, a really quick, subtle way to do that without, like you said, compromising the story or going into this in-depth what Project Insight is. It just says, oh shit, they're going to use this event that we already know has happened in the movies and in the show, refreshing us about what Project Insight is.
Yeah, to me, this was an episode that I think there's one of these every season we're going to look back on at the very end of the show and be like, yeah, this was the one where they really pushed that first domino down to sort of start knocking down all the key threads to the plot.
Yeah, right, they've built it all up and now they can knock it down.
Yep. It should be a wild ride the rest of the way. I mean, as of next week, we will have, 8 episodes left, 7 episodes left?
7 episodes left, something like that, yeah.
So it's kind of the last stretch run, less than 2 months. All right, anything you want to leave the people with, Banner, for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, Episode 5?
I just want to say rest in peace, Fitz, because I don't think we're going to get him till... I think it's going to be at least 5 episodes before we see him.
5 more?
5 more.
I'm going to flip a table.
I know you are. That's why I'm just like... I wasn't prepared. Here, like, you know what? I had to mentally prepare myself for it.
I think that's the problem is I was not even thinking this was going to happen. I was not mentally prepared at all to go at least half the season without Fitz. And
I was expecting by episode 3 or 4 we would have seen him.
Because they've done that before.
Yeah, they've set that precedent.
But I was not emotionally ready to do this in the last season. All right, someone talk me off the ledge. For the mad scientist Brian Banner, I'm the mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for listening to us. We are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Please check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, all those places you'll find us. Follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad and check us out on our website, broforcesquad.com. Until next time, we'll see you next week for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Dude, what if
the end of my coffee and it was just grounds and then really nasty.
If I had May's power right now and I touched his shoulder, would I throw up?
Probably.